Malik and his mother had already decided who I was, not through science, not through medical evidence, not through patience, but through ancestry. I came from a family of 9 girls. 9. To them, that number was not coincidence. It was prophecy. And that was when my memory returned like a storm. I grew up inside a compound where love and tension lived side by side. My mother loved all 9 girls fiercely and equally. There was no doubt about that. She braided our hair before sunrise. She prayed over us before sleep. She defended us when relatives mocked the absence of a son like it was a missing limb. But I watched how my once bubbly mother slowly became invisible in our large family compound, and constantly talking to herself. I became worried about her mental health. My father, on the hand, was an educated man. He knew what biology said. He understood chromosomes. He had read the books. Yet when it came to lineage, knowledge bowed to tradition. He hid behind the cloak of traditions and openly blamed my mother for their inability to produce male children. He would blame her weak genes for everything. Her body, her failure. I remember the way she would stand silently when elders visited, her smile disciplined, her pain disguised. Village chiefs and clan leaders laughed at my father not openly cruel, just enough to wound. A chief without a son? Who carries your name when you're gone? They reduced him to half a man, and in return, he reduced her to half a wife. Village chiefs and elders mocked my father and laughed at him. They saw him as a second-class chief, not a real man. I imagined the emotional. Isolation. That tension in my father's compound was deeply dramatic, especially after marrying a second and the third wife. It became a competition, each woman trying to outdo the other in their quest to give my father a male child. The rivalry, the internalized shame, and the tension in that compound was not quiet. It was thick and visible. Each woman measuring her worth against the possibility of a son. Each pregnancy treated like a referendum on survival. I watched rivalry grow where sisterhood should have lived. I watched internalized shame bloom like mildew in the corners of every room. I watched how women learned to hate themselves for something they did not control. I learned early that legacy, in the wrong hands, becomes violence. I remember how every naming ceremony became a reminder of what my mother couldn't give. The absence of a son triggered immense pressure on my mother. Traditionally, that meant something. It meant risk. It meant extinction. It meant a lineage ending quietly through daughters who would carry other names. Now I imagined how my mother-in-law may have pressured my husband into seeking solace in the hands of another woman just to fulfill the desires of ancestral legitimacy, continuity of lineage, and the preservation of my husband's family name. Hence the decisions made by Malik and his mother to keep back in Africa. Now I understood. Malik did not wake up one day and stop loving me. He inherited fear, fear of extinction, fear of ridicule, fear of becoming the man elders whisper about when he leaves the room. Traditionally, the absence of a son meant something. It meant risk. It meant lineage fading. It meant daughters carrying other names into other homes. And so plans were made. My mother-in-law, steady and strategic, must have whispered the same fears into Malik's ear. Perhaps gently, perhaps persistently, perhaps wrapped in concern. Think about the family name. Think about the future. Think about legacy. And so I was kept back. The building project, the delay, the silence. It wasn't timing, it was contingency. Another woman entered the picture, not because of passion, not because of romance, but because of purpose. An experiment, a patrilineal solution, a calculated attempt to secure a carrier of the bloodline. And even she produced daughters. Still, my case was declared closed. No empathy, no second chance. No conversation. Just quiet conclusions made in rooms I was not invited into. What unsettles me most is this. Malik loves me. I have seen it, felt it, known it. And yet, he can love me deeply and still feel incomplete without a son. That is the tragedy. Love, measured against legacy. Marriage, weighed against inheritance. A woman cherished in private, but evaluated through the lens of tradition. But here is what neither Malik nor his mother know. I am not carrying one child, I am carrying two. Twins. He does not know. Their genders remain my secret. The knowledge sits inside me like power, warm, alive, decisive. Soon Malik will have to choose. Not between children, between love and legacy, between his wife and inherited fear, between me and his mother's expectations. And this time, I will not be on standby. This is only the beginning of the most compelling tension in our marriage. Let them whisper. Let them speculate and let them prepare their disappointment. I don't care. Call me selfish, call me rebellious, call me whatever you like. But when these children arrive, something greater than lineage will be born. Hi, welcome to this episode titled Love versus Legacy. Please like, share, and subscribe to support the growth of our YouTube channel. Don't go yet. Leave us a comment below to let us know where you're watching us from. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't, because the ending of this story will blow your mind. I didn't mean to leave the letter on the dining table. It wasn't strategy, it wasn't drama, it was fatigue. That morning, I had placed the hospital appointment letter beside Malik's teacup while clearing plates from the night before. I remember the way the paper caught the morning light, white against the dark wood. I meant to tuck it into my handbag. I forgot. I rushed to rinse dishes, wiped down the kitchen counter, then walked quickly to the bedroom to grab my bag. When I returned, Malik was no longer eating. He was reading. The letter was in his hands. He didn't look angry. He didn't look shocked. He looked alert. "You didn't tell me it was twins," he said quietly. The room felt smaller, so that was how he found out. "Yes," I replied calmly. "I was waiting for the right time." He nodded slowly. Processing. He knew about the twins now, but not their gender. That part remained mine. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. My mother-in-law. Her voice was bright, energized. "Send me a list of the things you need," she said. "I will be joining you soon in Canada." Joining us. I stood frozen in the kitchen, one hand gripping the counter. I swallowed. "Oh, that's kind," I said evenly. As if my body hadn't gone cold, as if she had any right to discuss my pregnancy like it belonged to her legacy plan, as if I didn't know the role she played in shaping my standby years. "I'll call you back," I said suddenly. "The doctor is calling me. It's urgent." I ended the call before she could respond. How dare she? How dare she insert herself into this moment as though she were coming to bless something she nearly erased? That evening, I didn't circle the topic. I didn't soften my voice. "It's either your mother," I said to Malik, "or me." He blinked. "If she comes here, I will leave." I didn't shout, I didn't tremble. I was done performing politeness. He stared at me like he had never seen this version of me before. Maybe he hadn't. The twins arrived a week earlier than expected. The contractions started at dawn, deep, rolling pain that wrapped around my spine and refused to loosen. The hospital lights were too bright. The corridors smelled sterile and cold. Nurses moved with efficient calm while my body moved like it was splitting open. Malik held my hand. Tight. For once, lineage wasn't in the room. Only survival. Only breath. Only pain. When the first cry pierced the air, something ancient inside me broke and healed at the same time. Then the second, 2 cries. 2 lives, 2 destinies. Honestly, power feels quiet when it settles. When they placed the first baby on my chest, I didn't ask. I already knew. I had known for weeks. The second cry came seconds later, louder, stronger, 2 tiny fists, 2 warm bodies pressed against my skin. The nurse smiled. "Congratulations." Malik's hands were shaking. "Are they?" he began, but couldn't finish. I turned my head slowly. "They're boys," the nurse said. 2 words. That was all it took. Malik exhaled like a man rescued from drowning. Not joy. Relief. That was what cut me. Relief. As if love had finally qualified. As if I had finally passed an exam I never agreed to sit. He kissed my forehead. He whispered, "Thank you. Thank you." For what? For validating his masculinity, for protecting his surname, for silencing village whispers that were thousands of miles away. I looked down at my sons, my beautiful sons, and something inside me hardened. They were not trophies. They were not answers to ancestral insecurity. They were not bandages for male ego. They were children. Mine. When we got home, I waited. Malik paced for hours before calling his mother. He stepped into the living room, but his voice carried down the hallway. "Yes," he said. A pause. "Yes, Mama." Another pause, then louder. 2. Silence. Then a shriek from the other end. Celebration, vindication, triumph. I could almost hear the ululation through the walls. "My son! My son!" she cried. I closed my eyes. My son. Not our sons. Not my grandchildren. Her victory. Malik laughed. A strained, disoriented laugh. "They're boys," he confirmed. The shouting intensified. Then I heard it. "You see? I told you. Our blood is strong." Our blood, as if I were only soil. Something in me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. Later that night, Malik entered the bedroom glowing with something close to pride. "They're happy," he said. "I'm sure they are," I replied. He sat beside me. "You see?" he whispered gently. "Everything worked out. Everything worked out." I turned to him slowly. "No," I said quietly. "Everything was always working." He frowned. "You just didn't know how to see it." He didn't understand. Of course he didn't. The sharper truth wasn't that I gave him sons. The sharper truth was this. He nearly lost me chasing them. He risked his marriage. He entertained alternatives. He allowed his mother to treat me like a placeholder. And now that the sons were here, he wanted to celebrate legacy, as if love had not been tested. But legacy without loyalty is hollow. And I would not allow my sons to grow up believing their worth outweighed their sisters. So before he could dial his mother again, before celebration could rewrite history, I said it. "You will correct her." He blinked. "You will tell her this was never about bloodline strength. You will tell her I was never on standby. You will tell her I am not a vessel that finally proved useful." His pride dimmed slightly. "And if she cannot respect me," I continued calmly, "she will not step into this house." The room went quiet, because now the real choice stood in front of him. Not sons and not legacy, me. He thought twin boys would restore balance. He didn't realize they would force him to choose sides. And this time, I was not asking. I was declaring, "Call me bad, call me difficult, call me controlling, I don't care," because I did not carry 2 sons to secure a surname. I carried them to break a cycle. Then one evening, while I was in the bedroom nursing both babies, I overheard him. His voice was raised, sharp, unfiltered. He was on the phone with his mother. "I told you not to book ticket yet, Mother," he snapped. There was shouting from the other end, loud enough that I could hear her anger through the speaker. "You embarrassed me," she yelled. "People are asking questions. When am I going to see my grandsons?" "Don't book anything, Mom. I will let you know when my wife and I are ready," Malik fired back. "I heard that your wife's mother is making preparations to visit her daughter and my grandchildren. Why Malik?" "Stop blaming me for decisions you pushed." Silence. Then her voice again, furious. "You let that woman control you." That woman. I stopped breathing. Malik's tone changed, not defensive, resolute. "You will not talk about my wife like that." The room went still. "You pressured me," he continued. "You made everything about sons, about legacy, about shame. I am tired of living like I owe the dead something." Her voice cracked with rage. So you choose her over your name? Malik didn't hesitate. I choose my family. The line went dead.